So anybody here for the first time, I want to welcome you. We're glad you're here and we hope you'll come back. I want to give a special shout out right now to Herb and Ahmad and to Valerie. They're here early in the morning, and without them you wouldn't be able to hear a thing. So maybe Sundays you would. That might be the better thing, I don't know. I'm glad to see you, Mary. Okay, so the courage to change. But let's start with a little joke. So a minister was driving down the highway and speeding. And so a policeman pulled him over and he said, "I think you're speeding." And he said, "No." He said, "I'm smelling alcohol on your breath." And the minister said, "That's impossible." And the policeman said, "Well, what have you got in that thermos?" And he said, "Water." And the policeman said, "Well, can I have the thermos for a moment?" And he smelled it. He said, "This is not water, this is wine." And the minister, "By gosh, Jesus did it again." So the theme for this month is the courage to change. And there's nothing that takes more courage than changing. You know, we get to a certain age and this is what we do and we're in a routine. But we're coming up to the season of Lent on Wednesday. And we take that very seriously in Unity. Unity is progressive Christianity. It is applied Christianity, which means that we just don't talk about the teachings of Jesus. We're here to follow them day by day. Remember the song? "O dear Lord, day by day, that I may see thee more clearly, to follow thee more nearly, and to love thee more dearly." And that's what we're here for. So as I say, we take this very seriously. Charles Fillmore was the co-founder of Unity. And this just blew my mind. Myrtle had died, the co-founder with Charles of Unity, and he remarried at 81 or 82 a Cora, who became obviously Cora Fillmore. She had been their secretary and been with them for years and was an ordained minister. And at 83, he traveled with Cora to California. And he went up and down the coast of California. And he gave 60 talks about Lent and about Easter. So he felt very seriously about this. He said, Lent is the time to abstain from error and from error thinking and meditate upon spiritual truth. So, you know, as a child, I gave up candy. Anybody else as a child did something like that? Well, the good news is I love chocolate so much, and I did give up candy. I would do that every Lent, and it was really hard as a little girl. And then I got very, very sick on Holy Saturday night, and it turned out to be appendix. And they had to remove them. And my father came into the hospital room. He said, "Young lady, that is the last time you're ever giving up candy for Lent." And I thought, oh, it was worth it. Oh. Charles Fillmore also said this is time of spiritual growth, time of progressive unfoldment. So we are not, you know, as St. Paul said, when I was a child, I thought as a child. I sat at, many years ago, I was at a dinner party, and there was two folks that they were from New Orleans. They'd just come back from Mardi Gras, and they said, they were offering red wine. They said, "No, we gave up red wine. We want white wine." And then he said, "We didn't like red wine anyway." So, you know, that's not the kind of thing we're doing here. We want to elevate ourselves because that's what we're here for. We are here to continually elevate our thinking into a higher level. How can we, as the topic goes today, how can we become more of a living blessing? And it's not about giving up candy or alcohol or whatever it is. And I did read something cute about that. Somebody said, this was in February, they said, "I think we're going to give up sweets and alcohol, February 30th and 31st. Now you may have to think about that. So 40 days is mentioned in the Bible many, many times. And what scholars say is 40 days is a trial. And we are marching through 40 days starting on Wednesday to Easter. And that is the whole point, that we can come through these 40 days and actually be a living blessing, moving up in consciousness. Emma Curtis Hopkin, who is the teacher of teachers, the teachers of the Fillmores, the founders of Unity, constantly talked about that higher spiritual living. She would say, go upstairs into a higher level, and that's what we're here for. So I thought we would take a look today at 3 people, and there were more than 3 in the Bible, believe it or not, but 3 people that took fasting for 40 days. Now we're not being, and I also want to say a blessed Ramadan to those who are celebrating Ramadan, who do fast from sun up to sundown. So anyway, but we're going to study, we're studying people that 40 days, and of course the Bible is symbolic, but it's still giving us an idea and what they learned from 40 days of fasting and what am I thinking here? They gave up fasting. What did they do? They fasted and they prayed for 40 days. And the first one I want to talk about is Moses. And Moses, the people had just left Egypt, and they were sitting at the base of Mount Sinai. And Moses was pretty much stuck. What did he do now with these people going back into the Holy Land? So if we can picture for the moment Mount Sinai and the beauty of that mountain. And Moses climbed that mountain. And then they say that he disappeared into the clouds. Well, you can see clouds around the top of a mountain. And they said that Moses disappeared into the clouds for 40 days and 40 nights, praying and fasting. And that's when when God talked to Moses. And he talked to him in a very strong way, because sometimes when God wants to get our attention, he speaks in a very strong way, doesn't he? You know, if we don't get it once, we're going to get it again and again and again. But he spoke to Moses not in a gentle way. He was telling Moses something, and the burning bush, came alive, and Moses didn't understand why it would not burn out. It just kept burning and burning and burning. And that's when God talked to Moses. And he was talking about letting my people go to the Pharaoh, and Moses said, I cannot do that because I'm a stutter. And that's when God said, Moses, I will do it through you. Go anyway. And at that point, he handed the 10 Commandments to Moses. So Moses brought down from that mountaintop the 10 Commandments, and then he had the strength of God moving through him, saying, I will do it through you. So whatever we decide to do this Lent, whatever we decide to give up or to dedicate ourselves to 40 days, what if we just gave, I don't know any of us are going to go into a cave for 40 days and 40 nights and pray and fast. But what if we gave 40 minutes a day, just 40 minutes a day for the next 40 days and see what happens? Maybe it could be 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes at night, and see how our lives can change. Ask for guidance. What do I need to do here to fulfill my life as the blessing to humanity that I came to be? Because anybody that thinks we're just here, we're just plopped down to live and then die. What was Peggy Lee's song, whatever it was, is that all there is? It's not all there is. Not for us in Unity. We have a meaning and a purpose, and each one of us came into this lifetime with our own meaning and our own purpose and our own universe. Now, some people have a huge universe. They could be president or whatever they might be. But our universe, whatever it is, our family and our friends, those we come in contact with, those we work with, that is our universe. And that is where we become the living blessing to everybody. Because we see beyond the appearance. We see beyond the behavior. onto to the actual soul of the person. You know, it was said so beautifully this morning about unity means unified. And so that is what it is. We are unified to uplift others. We have a special calling here. It's not a calling of sin or this or that. It is a calling to absolutely elevate ourselves into the consciousness of Mount Sinai, to take that walk up the mountain that Moses took and be there in the presence of God. Well, God may not be in the burning bush to us, but when we elevate ourselves, when we're willing to pray, to fast, and what are we talking about fasting? Again, we're not talking about giving up candy or alcohol. That may be what we decide to do, but it's fasting, Charles Fillmore said, from errant thinking. Because, you know, we don't have a devil here, but what we have is thoughts, errant thinking that tells us, you really aren't worth that much. How can you think that you're here to be a living blessing to people? Well, I'll tell you what, it's time to say, get ye from thee, because I'm not going to think those thoughts anymore. For the next 40 days, could we keep our attention on the power and the presence and the love of God? Can we keep our attention on those that have gone before us, that have shown us the way showers, a Moses that was so brave, that he said, I can't do this, and listen to God saying, I can do it through you. And that's for each one of us. When we think we can't do it, I cannot go on. If we are open to it, there is always that voice within that says, I am with you. I will work through you. I will be with you through your grief. I will be with you through your suffering. I will be with you. I will be the joy of your life. But it's always there if we listen. Now with Moses, it came as a boom. But let's look at Elijah. That was another. He was a prophet from also the Old Testament. And he was in 1 Kings, they talk about Elijah. And Elijah was a prophet, and he was so dedicated to God. And at that time, there were all of these people, they called them, they worshiped Baal, B-A-A-L. But what they were worshiping was false gods. So Elijah took himself, made it his job to go, and he absolutely slayed all of these prophets that were worshiping a false god. And when we're worshiping a false god, what are we doing? We're worshiping people, places, things. We're worshiping the voice within that says, I don't think you can do that. And we say, oh, okay. So actually, we're worshiping something outside of ourselves that says, you aren't who you think you are. And we can say back, oh, yes, I am. Anyway, Elijah was scared to death because Jezebel, remember Jezebel? Maybe we've all had a Jezebel somewhere show up in our life. I don't know. She was married to King Ahab, and she was a devout worshiper of false gods. And her message was she was out to kill Elijah, and he was frightened. She was powerful, and so was King Ahab. And he was so frightened, he started to run. And he ran and he ran and he ran until he couldn't run anymore. And he fell on the ground. He was hungry. He was thirsty. And just as the Bible promises, I will give my angels charge over you. And that's exactly what they did. They came and they comforted Elijah. They fed him, and they stayed with him until he was able to get on his feet and continue his journey. Well, he went up Mount Hob, H-O-O-A-B, and he too had an experience with God. He fasted for 40 days and 40 nights. But God was different. The voice of God was different with Elijah. It was gentle and it was kind. And Elijah said, I am alone here. I am alone. He said, there is nobody left that is going to help me. And he said, I've got so much to do. I still have all of these worshipers of false gods. And God said, don't worry about a thing. Elijah, I've got you covered. He said, I'm sending 10,000 people to go with you to complete your journey, that you can remove the false beliefs of Baal at the time, which was a false god. But we all have false gods in front of us, every single one of us, every day. That are, turn the news on, read the newspaper. I mean, it's all over the place. Our job is to stay centered. We are here for a purpose. We came in for a purpose. There are no mistakes. And perhaps many philosophers and theologians say now that each one of us made a decision before we came in of being here at some level of spirituality. And I think we in unity, in this wonderful teaching that the Fillmores believed so, it was intrinsic in them, that our first principle is God is everywhere present. So God is within you, and God is within me, and God is always whispering, come, come, you can do this. So for these 40 days and 40 nights, we watched Elijah and the presence of God in these gentle whispers. But the only time we can hear the gentle whispers is if we're quiet. Now, are we going to be quiet for all day, 40 days, 40 nights? No. But again, can we give 40 minutes for these next 40 days? Even if we break it down to 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 10. But if we really commit to this, to being still, God, I am here for you. I am here. Speak to me in language I can understand. And also when we go to bed at night, we want to pray, dear God, please speak to me in language I can understand in these dreams, so that we really can understand. Because if we're quiet, that voice, the still small voice within each one of us, is forever saying, you are my beloved, in whom I am well pleased. So this is the time we know we are the beloved. Not that other people aren't either, I'm not saying that, but we're talking to us right now. We are the beloved. We are here to have the courage to change, and every one of us, I think, at a high level now, because otherwise we wouldn't be here. But it's going upstairs even further to listen to the voice of God, as Moses did, as Elijah did, who was so very frightened. And haven't all of us been so very frightened at times? I can't go on. I'm afraid of finances. I'm afraid of health. I'm afraid of losing a loved one. Some of us have lost loved ones. And God was so gentle in the whispering. And God will whisper to us. God will nudge us. God will move us into the place we belong. The courage to change is what we're here for these next 40 days. So on Easter Sunday, we arise again. Not only did Jesus rise, but we are invited into that blessing with Jesus to rise again, minus all of the doubt, the fear, the anxiety. We are here for a purpose, and that is to be here for God. To let go when those thoughts come up. We don't have a devil here. We don't have a Satan running around. But what we have are very tricky thoughts that are constantly challenging. And if we think we've got something mastered, just watch. Like St. Augustine always says, God is the great hide and seek. If you think you've got it down, see what happens now. Can you see me now? Can you hear me now in the midst of all of the chaos going around? And our answer for the next 40 days is yes. I can see you, I can hear you, and I am up to the challenge, because I am not going to let these false voices in my head tell me anything differently. And it takes great courage to change. It truly does, because we have done the same thing over and over and over again. So many of us have let thoughts of fear, of doubt, of anxiety, of lack, of limitation. It's time to let it go now. It's time to elevate ourselves, as Emma Curtis Hopkins said. Come upstairs, because upstairs is Elijah, is Moses, are the Fillmores, Jesus and Buddha. So the last one we're going to talk about is Jesus. Some call him a prophet, some the great way shower, the Son of God, but he also invited us into sonship. So Jesus had not started his ministry yet, and he goes to the River Jordan to his cousin John. Now John, I'm sure if we saw him walking down the street, he would scare us to death. He wore loincloths, he ate locusts for dinner. He kind of did his own thing, right? And when Jesus came, John was his cousin, he said, I am not worthy to even tie your shoes. How can you come to me for baptism? But Jesus did. So John baptized Jesus, and then the skies opened up, and a voice came and said, you are my beloved Son, in whom I am so well pleased. But that voice didn't just say it to Jesus. Jesus said, you are my brothers, and you are my sisters, and you are here to do the work that I have done, and greater shall you do. So this voice said, you are my beloved Son, and the light all around Jesus, the whole sky lit up. And Jesus went into the desert after that for 40 days and 40 nights. He had not begun his public ministry. And there, we're going to say the devil, because that's how it goes, Satan. But it's not a devil or a Satan. It is our thoughts that are the challenge, that are constantly tempting us into being less than we are meant to be. And so this temptation came up. Jesus was very hungry. 40 days, 40 nights without food, without water. And the temptation was, all right, if you really are who you say you are, turn this stone into bread. And of course, Jesus said, no, I'm not. And then the next thing was, he took, supposedly this devil, this Satan, whatever the thought, came and said, all right, jump off of this pinnacle. And if you are who you say you are, then the angels will follow you and lift you and carry you. And Jesus said, I don't have to prove anything, get thee from me. And the last one was, Jesus was tempted and he was taken to a mountaintop, just imagine, and all the beauty around him. And he was told, this whole world can be yours if you will just worship me. And Jesus said, get ye from thee, Satan, thou shalt not tempt the Lord thy God. And after that, Jesus left after the 40 days and the temptations, and he went on to his ministry. So what does that say to you and to me? It's also saying the temptations are always there. Do this, do that, or you can't do this, or you can't do that. And our response has to be with these thoughts, get ye from me. I worship the Lord thy God, and I am here for God, and I will not allow errant thinking to control me anymore. I am going to absolutely be aware. I will be aware on these 40 days and 40 nights when these thoughts come in that tell me that I am not enough, that I'm not good enough, that I'm not really worthy of anything, because I'll tell you what, we are worthy of everything, of the gifts. The kingdom of yours, the kingdom of God is yours, Jesus had said. Well, it is our kingdom. So we have, as of Wednesday, 40 days and 40 nights. Can we commit to something beyond just giving up candy? Or, as I said, St. Paul said, as I was a child, I thought as a child. We are spiritual adults here. What is it that we can absolutely commit to? 40 minutes a day of quiet, of listening, of perhaps reading spiritual material. And the book that they're talking about, that Reverend Doug wrote the preface to in the garden, is a marvelous way of reading, of uplifting us. Do things that uplift you. You know, Reverend Michael used to talk about mind fast, soul feast. So if the mind, let it fast from all of this junk, so to speak, that is lied to us and lied to us and lied to us, telling us what we can and can't do. We've had enough. Get ye from me. I'm not going to do that anymore. These next 40 days are going to be my days, every single day, until I reach Easter Sunday and I resurrect a whole new being into this high realm of being that we are called to be, that Elijah called us to be, that Moses called us to be, that Jesus, the great way shower that we follow, has called us to be, saying, and this too and greater shall you do. So I don't know if you're willing to take the challenge with me or not. And again, the challenge is, now listen to this. Okay, so this morning I'm going to go and I'm going to give 15 minutes of my 40 days.
Uh-oh. But first, I've got to check my emails. Now, if you don't think that is the devil, so to speak, trying to teach you, or, oh my gosh, I'm just in the middle of a meditation, and the phone rings. But what if it's important? What if? So I better answer that phone, and then we're gone, right? So turn everything off. You know, I'm not saying take a break from social media, because I don't know how many of us can actually do that. I'm not sure I can. But what I'm saying is turn everything off. Give your attention to 40 minutes a day. Ask Jesus. Ask God within you. You know, first unity principle. God is everywhere present, within and without. Speak to me. What am I to do here? What is my mission here? How can I rise above from where I am into a different level of awareness and consciousness? How can I join hands with all the saints and all the avatars that have gone before me? How can I move past the grief that I'm in? How can I move past the fear that I feel? Speak to me in language I can understand so that I can elevate myself beyond the human thinking. Because you know what? We are spiritual beings having a human experience. Let us move into that spiritual being that we are, here for God. Use me, oh God, I pray for you. I pray that, use me, oh God, I pray, as you show me, as to be shown, all that I must do. Use me, oh God, show me the way, 40 minutes a day, elevate me, so that I too may rise again Easter Sunday morning in my beautiful white outfit, radiant with light, and join Jesus as he rises up. Join Moses, join all the great saints and avatars who have gone before us, that are constantly saying, come, come, elevate yourself. You have been called to a great purpose here. Each one of us are here to be a living blessing. Each one of us have innately the courage to change, or we wouldn't be here. So are you willing to take that challenge with me? Yes. 40 days. Yes. See what we can do. And on Easter Sunday, we will be, the light in here from each one of us will be so great that we will turn all the lights off and we'll just see us. Bright, shiny, new. Absolutely committed to being here for God, for good, and the idea of being a living blessing to life itself. Because if we're not, then we're in trouble. Because we are truth seekers, and if we don't shine our light, it doesn't get shown at all. That part is dark of the tapestry of life. So let's take a deep breath together. And let's just imagine right now again ourselves on that mountaintop where Moses stood, where Elijah stood, where Jesus was in the desert. And let's just join hands and say, I am here. I am here with you. I am here for God. I am here for good. And I am here to rise these 40 days and 40 nights into my greatest yet to be. And so it is.